All right, we are sitting down with Lukas today. Lukas came to me almost exactly 2 years ago, weighing in at 425 pounds. We just weighed him in about 15 minutes ago, 225 pounds on the dot. He is down exactly 200. He has done a phenomenal job throughout the entire process. When he came to me, he was under the same impression that a lot of weight loss clients are. They're not going to be able to eat what they want. It's going to be restrictive. They're going to have to cut carbs, all of this crazy nonsense that is 100% not necessary. And we're going to talk to him about some of the stuff he's done and how he has basically allowed the weight loss to work with his life instead of completely changing his life to allow for the weight loss. So we're gonna dive into some questions, get some really good answers for you guys. You can see some of the things he's been eating, some of the things he's been doing, what type of workouts he does, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Lukas, my first question for you is, I want your top 2 go-to meals.
Well, one of my favorite things has always been a good chicken sandwich, and you showed me a way to do it where it wasn't high in fat, and I can make it myself at home.
Okay, what are we talking chicken sandwich? What type of stuff are you using?
I just use a chicken patty from either like Tyson or the Kroger brands.
Okay.
A normal bun, like a hamburger bun. Some light mayo, some lettuce, and I might throw some buffalo sauce on there.
Perfect. You throw anything on the side?
Usually steak fries.
Steak fries?
Yeah.
From the Walmart ones?
Walmart ones, Kroger, doesn't matter. I would say I probably have enjoyed steak fries with 6 out of the 7 dinners of my weekly routine.
If you guys have never checked out the steak fries from Walmart, they are absolutely amazing. It's basically just potatoes, a little bit of oil, and a little bit of salt. Throw them in the air fryer. They taste just like restaurant steak fries.
Yeah.
You can throw a little bit of seasoning on them, but it's a great option. It is just a potato that has been chopped up and add a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt added to it. There's nothing wrong with that. It is perfectly okay, as you've learned, to include convenience items and things like that on your journey. It makes it a lot more realistic than thinking that you're gonna prep food every single week, no matter what's happening in your life. And I think because we included so many convenience items from the start, and you don't want to build your diet entirely around them, but to have those options available allows you to get through the tougher weeks when people would normally fall off, right?
Right, and like when you're busy at work and you have to pack a lunch, and like, you know, making that part of your routine is a little difficult at first, but making a sandwich takes 2 minds out of your morning
100%.
routine.
Yep.
I would say I probably eat a ham sandwich for lunch every day. That's
Easy.
another go-to.
All of these things too, super affordable. It's not like you're going out and buying a bunch of crazy healthy foods from Whole Foods.
Exactly.
Sounds like you're doing most of your shopping at Fry's and Walmart.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm not spending, well, I spend now about, $16 on ham a week, but that's because I eat 2 pounds of it, you know? But yeah, I mean, it's been affordable. I've been able to sustain it, and I'm not having to go to like boutique,
fancy, bougie, high-end grocery stores to get everything, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I think people have a misconception about, is that they're going to have to do all their shopping at Whole Foods and all the fancy places and buy the healthy version of everything. In reality, it's about what you make the entirety of your diet out of, and that can include some normal foods, some healthy foods. It really just comes down to what works for you, what you enjoy, and what is going to be, most importantly, sustainable, right?
Yep. And then the second one would be just a good old breakfast burrito: turkey bacon, egg whites, the extreme Olay tortillas.
Perfect. Yeah.
Those have probably kept me on this diet.
Yeah.
Some either fat-free or light sour cream, just depending on what the stores have in stock.
And you bring up a great point there, because swapping out for fat-free or light sour cream is something that you don't really notice the difference, right? So there are items like that where you don't notice the difference, and it's not really, there's no reason to go for the full fat item once you understand that, right? You're not losing anything. I think a lot of people think that because you're going for a low fat version, you're taking a bunch of vitamins and minerals out. That is not necessarily the case. Sometimes we are just reducing the fat content and leaving all of the other nutritional value in there. But if you don't notice the difference in flavor, that's a great way to save calories. That being said, there might be something else, trying to go and find a fat-free salad dressing, that is not worth it, because it tastes nothing like the real thing, right? Yeah. So it's a matter of finding, the options where making those swaps doesn't really bother you, and then just making those permanently and just consistently making that choice. And the areas where it does matter to you, keep getting the good stuff, right? Because you don't need to change everything you're doing. We just need to change some parts of your diet.
Right. Yeah. It was seriously. It was just taking the things that I like to eat and finding a healthy way to do it.
There you go. That's a perfect way to put it. Awesome. Okay. Next question. How has your life changed outside of the gym in the 2 years that you have lost 200 pounds?
I got a girlfriend. We're in a good spot. It's nice having someone, and she's great. Also, career-wise, I mean, when I started, it was the pandemic had just kicked off. I had lost a job. I got laid off from a job I had for 4 years. Came to Matt with basically nothing in my pocket, and now I'm in a management role, making a decent salary again, and I feel like I've stepped up tenfold from where I was when
you have, yeah, and I can attest to that. I remember when I met you. I remember you were driving DoorDash or whatever, Uber Eats, whatever it was.
Just to put
just to try and have enough money to rent and food and things like that. Yeah,
right.
And the position you're in now, it seems like you love your job and obviously a lot more successful. Do you feel like the weight loss helped to fuel some of that?
Oh, 100%. I don't think there's any way I could be doing the job I have now. Like it involves a lot of walking, and there's no way I would have been able to do it at 425.
Definitely, yeah, physically even, right? How about from a confidence perspective?
I can walk into any room and be comfortable.
Yeah, you've always been a pretty social guy, right?
Yeah, but
even
still,
when you were a confident dude, even when you were 400 plus pounds.
True.
Right, but it doesn't hurt to feel good about your body, feel confident, feel healthy.
Right.
Just that positivity is going to translate into every aspect of your life. And I have watched you, like you said, you're in a fantastic relationship. I've watched you level up. Aside from the way you look and your physique and the way I'm sure you feel, the improvements in blood markers, aside from all the positive physical things, you just seem happier and less stressed.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I feel like just the hormones and the chemicals that exercise alone produces.
Yeah,
I wasn't getting that before.
Yeah, those endorphins, definitely. Awesome. Okay, is there anything that you have completely removed from your diet? Was there anything that had to be completely off limits?
Yeah, so I stopped smoking. That was I would say about 7.
And you're talking about cigarettes?
Cigarettes, yeah.
Cigarettes, okay.
Stopped smoking cigarettes. About 7 months into it,
And I put that on the table at the beginning.
You did, and I made that commitment to you that I was, ready to stop that so I could continue to work out with you. It meant everything, because at that point we were starting to finally see results.
See results, yeah.
And I had to, and since I've been doing that, I mean, I go on 2-hour hikes with my girlfriend twice a week.
Oh, the benefits of your cardio. Aside from longevity and living longer and reduced risk of cancer and everything. The smell, right? You don't smell like cigarettes anymore. But the cardiovascular benefits in what you're capable of doing in life, right? So just to clarify, the only thing he has given up is cigarettes, meaning he hasn't had to give up any individual food. There's nothing that was off limits. I told you that the first day I met with you. I said, I'm not going to put anything off limits. I'm not going to restrict you from having anything. Everything fits within this diet. There are no good foods, there are no bad foods, but you need to understand what is going to be an overall healthful diet, right? Kind of like a budget,
right.
And then you fit the things that you enjoy within those parameters, within that budget.
Right.
It's very similar to balancing a financial budget and deciding, hey, I want to spend money on a nice car, or hey, I want to spend money on a nice vacation.
Right, and the thing that worked for me most is I'll plan my meals for the day. I won't prep my meal for the day, but
right.
I'll go into MyFitnessPal, put the food in. That way I can stick to the plan.
Get an idea of how things are going to shake out. That's especially helpful if you're going out to eat or something like that, right? That way you have an idea of kind of what else you can have within your day, and then by the time you get to dinner, you can just enjoy yourself because hey, you know what? I know exactly what I'm having, fits within my plan. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm still going to be down another, however much in weight, and I got to go out with my girlfriend and enjoy myself. That's awesome. You brought up a really good point. You said you don't meal prep, right? So you haven't really done any meal prep this whole time, and I think people have this idea that you have to line up a bunch of Tupperware dishes on a counter every Sunday in order to stick to a plan.
I don't have 6 hours on a Sunday.
Right, and most of us don't. Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's awesome that you've been able to do this by just basically making foods on the go, things that it sounds like you enjoy, shopping at relatively normal grocery stores, and seeing progress all the way through. I mean, 200 pounds in 2 years is tough to beat, right?
Yeah, thanks.
So you mentioned you gave up cigarettes, you quit smoking, right? Now, obviously, you smoke marijuana.
I do.
Right? On a pretty regular basis.
Yep.
That was something that we talked about, and I said if it starts to, I know we talked about strains and things like that a little bit, indica versus sativa, and we touched on that a little bit. And that's something that there is another video coming on all of that stuff and different strains that you can go towards if you want some anxiety relief, if you need pain relief that are not going to stimulate the munchies. That's something that we're going to touch on in another video. But you didn't have to give that up. And I know a lot of people have this, they think that they're going to have to give up marijuana consumption altogether.
No, not at all. I didn't give it up. I will say this, I've transitioned more to edibles than I have smoking, just because for me...
calculate it a lot better too.
Right, and for me, you know, the oral fixation you get when smoking cigarettes, it kind of kicks it off. But I'm a huge marijuana proponent,
definitely. There's a lot of people who I think, honestly, you know, they need marijuana, whether it is to deal with an anxiety disorder and maybe no medication has worked, or other medications have had other side effects, or maybe it's a pain issue that they're relying on that for pain management because they don't want to be on opiates or something like that.
100%.
So a lot of overweight people, especially in regards to the pain one, right? I know a lot of overweight people who I've worked with over the years consume marijuana on a regular basis because, you know, they got injured, and that injury then led to them being sedentary, which then led to them gaining weight. And now you're in a position where you're injured, you're overweight, and you do need this to be a part of your life. So I think it's important for people to see there is a way to continue to include that in your life. And again, I know I keep saying it, but 200 pounds in 2 years and hasn't really had to give any aspect of his life up outside of cigarettes, which to me is a win, which is phenomenal.
Most people would agree.
Yeah, definitely. So for those people out there who are in the position that you were in when you first started, right? 400 plus pounds, 500 plus pounds.
Yeah.
If you could give them one piece of advice that you think would resonate with somebody in that position, what would it be?
Well, it's two. The answer is split into two on this. It's you have to be committed to make the change. It's not just something, I want to try to work out again.
Right.
You have to commit to wanting to change. But the biggest piece of it is just showing up. For me, that was my thing. Is do I want to go for a walk right now and it was in July and gyms were shut, so I had to walk outside.
Nobody wants to go for a walk in July in Arizona. Yeah.
Right. So for me, it was just like, just get outside and start moving. And once you start, the wheels just keep turning. It snowballed into then getting back in the gyms when they opened up. And then, you know, those days where you don't
have that momentum going from sticking with it.
Exactly. And those days where you don't feel like working out. I mean, some days you need rest. Like, I'm not saying I've worked out every day during these 2 years, but those days where you don't feel like it or you're unmotivated to go, you just got to show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll figure it out from there.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? And I think what can fuel people to show up is understanding the pain of your situation, the pain of the position you're in, needs to outweigh the pain of whatever is going to change that. Like you mentioned, did you want to go for a walk in July in Arizona when it's 115 degrees out? No, but that was less painful than you continuing to live the life that you were living. And until you get to that point where the pain of the position you're in outweighs the pain of what you have to do to change that position, you're really never going to be successful. And that's one thing I always tell people, sit down and examine this and say, is this something that you need to do? Because if this isn't something you need to do right now, when it is 115 degrees in July, you're not going to go for the walk because that pain does not outweigh you not wanting to go out there and sweat your ass off, right? So make sure you're in that position when you go into this journey. And the other thing that I want to ask you about, I always like to get people's opinions. How much of a difference does the accountability make?
From my commitment to you?
From me working with you, the other people you involved in your life.
I mean, yeah, if you don't hold yourself accountable, you're never going to see results.
Sure.
I don't think. But what helped me was I knew that I had to step on a scale with you every week, and making sure that number went down was really important to me. But you know, just for my situation, I know that people were doubting me, and I know that my friends were looking out for me, and this is why I got started too. And I didn't want to let them down.
And you put it out there on social media from the start.
From the start, even at my fattest, I was taking titty pics.
And that's one thing that you don't necessarily need to put out on social media, but even if you have a small group of people who you really trust, they can be family members, it can be your spouse, it can be a brother or sister, somebody you're very close with, put it out there to them what you're going to do. You instantly increases You instantly increase the chance of your adherence and sticking with something when you make a verbal commitment and you involve other people.
Yeah.
We know that. That's the simplest thing that you can do right off the bat. If you do feel like you're in that position where you're ready, I fully encourage you to include somebody else. It doesn't need to be a professional. You don't need to hire a dietitian. You don't need to hire a personal trainer. If you can, that's awesome. If you have those resources available, I would fully suggest doing it, because if you do hire somebody who you know has your best interest, but also has the understanding of how to do it, you're going to have a lot more confidence when you start to doubt yourselves on those weeks where scale's not moving, right? You need that person to come in and say, no, look, here's what we're going to do, right? But if you don't have that person, just the accountability of a family or friend can make all the difference in the world. So that is one of the first steps. If you're ready to take that step on your journey, that is one of the first steps you should do, is make that commitment to someone else. Okay, Lucas, moving on. Let's talk about the workouts. What is your favorite exercise to do in the gym?
For me personally, I've always liked to push myself when it comes to bench press. I want to say my results have been like outstanding. I mean, I'm only bench pressing about 15 pounds, 20 pounds more than when we were started.
Yeah.
But for me, that's kind of like the test, right? Like, you know, how committed I am that week or that day, and what do I have in me?
Yeah.
You know, push
well,
myself.
it's I mean, you're pushing, right? You're literally pushing something off you. You're pushing something away from you. And I think that is the number one question whenever people meet you, how much do you bench? How much do you bench, right? That's the lift that we all kind of measure ourselves by.
Right, but and then also that's just also on me with, you know, I never really liked my chest, so that was the thing where I was trying to build it up the most. So.
Yeah, and I think that is something a lot of people who go through weight loss, wanting to fill out some of those muscle groups that they feel like probably have had a little bit more fat stored in them, knowing that if you can fill that out with muscle, it's going to lead to a better look when you finish the journey. So that actually is a really good exercise to focus on, because that is one of the areas that I know a lot of people who go through major weight loss like this stress about. That's great. Okay, workout split. Do you do whole body, upper body, lower body, you know, chest, biceps? What do you do?
It's changed since we started.
Right, it has, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I commit certain days to a single muscle group. I'm never in the gym for more than an hour.
Right. And I think that's really important for people to understand, is that even myself, my workouts are 45 to 60 minutes. Your workouts are 45 to 60 minutes. Yeah. You do not need to be committing any longer than that to your workout. You should not be in the gym for 2 hours. If you're in the gym for 2 hours, something is wrong with the way that the program is being designed, or the execution, or something, because there is no need to spend that much time. This does not have to take over your life. This should be helping to improve your life, not taking away from your life, right? Go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I'll stick to a certain muscle group. I like to do usually chest, back, and then I'll throw in legs, so I get a little reprieve from the upper body. And then go back into triceps, biceps,
throw some arms in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you used a flexible dieting approach. Did you find that relatively easy? I know a lot of people get overwhelmed at the beginning. Is there any advice you have for people who have maybe tried tracking in the past? They've tried macros and they just feel like it's too much to keep track of, and they just want to be told what to do. Any advice either as to why it worked for you, or I mean, I know you had tried to lose weight in the past. And you had tried more rigid, strict meal plans. Those obviously didn't have any sort of sustainability.
Not sustainability.
Right?
They work, but they don't work for long.
They work short term, but you can't live your life like that. So any advice to the people who maybe feel a little overwhelmed with macros or flexible dieting?
Well, yeah, it's super easy. Everything's got a barcode. You just take a picture of it, and MyFitnessPal gives you everything you need to know.
How much better are you at it, you know, now, or were you even 1 to 2 months in versus at the very beginning?
At the very beginning, I didn't have any sort of basis, so having to spend that time logging everything was challenging. But then essentially, I started eating the same things all the time, so it's copy from date.
But they're things you like, right? And then when you burned out on them, you moved in something new that you like, and that's perfectly okay to do. It doesn't mean you have to eat those things every day, but there is a benefit to having some repetitiveness to your diet, right? We know that there are a lot of weight loss studies on people who are successful, and many of the successful people end up repeating the same foods over and kind of rotate through. And I think we all tend to do that in life. We find a place we really enjoy eating at, or we find a recipe we really like making, and we make it. But it's great to hear that you have that freedom, right? and that you gain that understanding so quickly of kind of how to rotate these different things in.
Yeah, exactly. And then for those days that like, when we first started, I was driving a lot, right?
Yeah.
So there was some days where I didn't have a lunch and I had to run into a Taco Bell.
Right.
But
Yep. I know. I remember.
I knew exactly what I could get, how I could fit it into my program, and I still got to enjoy Taco Bell, which is one of my favorite fast food restaurants.
Yeah, and that's, you know what, that's perfectly okay, because we need to be including things that we enjoy. Everything is not going to be, is Taco Bell a perfectly healthy choice? No, probably not, right? But there is more to losing weight, and there is more to us being satisfied and being able to stick to something than just making the perfect choice all the time. Sometimes we need to make the choice that's available to us, and sometimes we need to make the choice that makes us happy up here too, right?
Yeah.
And your ability to work those in with a flexible dieting program, right? If you're following a meal plan or something like that, and you get caught out, you better hope you got your Tupperware dish with you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to eat anything because you have no understanding of how to look at a menu at a place like that and come to any conclusion of what you can have.
Because just because you think it's a salad,
yep, exactly.
You don't really understand that it's a 1,200 calorie salad.
Yep, it might not be the best choice. The bean burrito might be a better choice for you in that scenario, right? Just kind of depends on what your goals are and where you're at.
And when I started this job, I had to take on more client lunches and things like that, and you really helped me with looking at the menu and finding that healthy option. And even though I was eating out, it didn't feel like I was cheating. So it's uncomfortable when you're sitting with colleagues or clients and you guys are out at a restaurant and you're on a program and you know you should make the right choice and not even eat there.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be the oddball out.
Right, you're in that situation. You're gonna end up eating there.
Right.
And having the ability to know, hey, just because I'm eating here, it doesn't have to be that I'm falling off my plan. Right. And again, I think it happens where people think once they have something like that, the whole day is gone, and then they just go and get everything else that they've been wanting. Whereas if you understand that, yeah, I'm at a nice steakhouse, yeah, I'm gonna get an old fashioned, I'm gonna get a filet, but it doesn't mean that my day is blown because I know that it only adds up to this many calories. You can't gain weight if you don't go over your calories, right?
Exactly.
So your macros might not be perfect, but it doesn't mean you should throw away that day just because you had to go out to a steakhouse for lunch.
Right, and for me, that was the main thing is like, are my macros always perfect? No, but are my calories good? Yes.
Nailed it. Yep. Calories trump macros. You will never have perfect macros every day. I don't have perfect macros every day, but on a weight loss journey, as long as you're not exceeding your total calories, you will lose weight week over week. So that's a great point. All right, give me your top 5 items that people should pick up. If somebody was like, all right, I'm going to go out and get some, I'm going to start my weight loss journey today, what are the multi-use type items that have benefited you the most?
Food-wise?
Yep.
All right. The Sara Lee Delightful 45 bread.
I like that.
You get white bread for 45 calories a slice. It's unbeatable. The Extremo laid tortillas.
Okay. Those are also really good. Yeah.
Like 80 calories and like 9 grams of protein.
Yep. Yeah. Turn them into a wrap. Turn them into a burrito.
Exactly.
You can do a lot of things with them. Great.
Finding a low-fat cheese. Find the ones that work for you because for me, I mean, who doesn't like cheese?
Right. But it's got to melt.
Right, it's got to melt.
You can't go with the Kraft plastic shreds.
No.
Yeah.
But Sprouts has good ones. Walmart has good ones. They're out there.
We got 2 left.
The Skinny Cow drumstick things.
Yep, a nice little dessert, right?
Nice little treat. I need chocolate in my life.
Automatic portion control, right? That's one of my favorite things with stuff like that is because with dessert, a lot of people find it to be indulgent and it snowballs into them eating the whole thing of Ben & Jerry's or the whole thing of Haagen-Dazs or whatever. Right. Whereas if you're getting, a little, it doesn't even have to be Skinny Cow. It can be a regular.
The Nick's is really good.
Nick's ice cream is another really good one. But the important thing to touch on is if you know that's an indulgent food for you, purchase it in a portion controlled setting until you gain more and more control of being able to eat that thing. That way you're not having to completely abstain from it because all that's going to happen is when you stop abstaining from it, you're going to go all in on it. But if you purchase it in a portion controlled format like that, it's going to teach you to start to eat an amount of it that is something that fits within your plan and you can continue to make progress, and it's going to continue to improve your relationship with food. And by the time you get to the end of your journey and your calories are much higher and you can afford to have more, you're not going to be in this position where you've never had it and as soon as you start eating, you don't know how to stop, right? You set yourself up for long-term sustainable success. Those are all really, really good food items.
Steak fries being the last
Steak fries being the last one.
Yeah.
That pairs well with pretty much anything. You can throw them on the side of a sandwich, side of a steak. I mean, it's a good, great source of carbohydrates. Just potatoes, salt, and oil. Nothing to be afraid of just because it's inside of a bag. Okay, wrapping things up. We've kind of touched on everything now. I wanted to circle back around to the fact that we used a flexible dieting approach to do all of this, right? So just to be clear so that everybody can see, at any point during this program, when you sat down with me at the very beginning or at any point, did we ever restrict carbohydrates?
No.
Did I ever tell you that you were going to have to eat 6 times a day?
No.
Did I ever tell you you're going to have to fast?
No.
Did you have to go to the gym 7 days a week?
No.
Did you ever have to do a single session of fasted cardio?
Never.
And you're still down 200 pounds in the last 2 years.
Exactly. It's really easy once you understand the program.
Yeah.
And it's not even a regimen. It's just he shows you the smart way of doing things.
That's a great way to put it, right? All of those things I just mentioned, you can do all of those if you like. They are what I call unnecessary complexities. So a lot of people look at me and they say, well, I had a friend who did fasted cardio and she lost a lot of weight. That's fine. You can do fasted cardio and lose weight. It's not going to prohibit you. It's not going to hurt you. But it is an unnecessary complexity. It is going to make your life, it's one more rule you have to follow, one more thing that you got to stick to. And when life gets busy and you have all these other rules, you just go, you know what, I can't do this, and you give up and you fall off. Whereas somebody like yourself, utilizing a flexible dieting approach, you don't have all those rules. You don't have all those restrictions. So when life gets busy, you're able to pivot, adjust, stay on track, and look, we're down 200 pounds in 2 years, right? And that's kind of the whole point of what flexible dieting is intended to be. It's not intended to have people go out and eat Pop-Tarts and pizza for every meal. It's intended to provide them with more flexibility so that they can stick with things when life gets crazy, because that's when people give up.